What's umami? Oh, good question. So this is kind of the secret to cooking. Umami is a savory taste. So we taste 5 things. Only 5. We can only taste 5 things. Of all the things in the world, we taste 5. And they are salt, saltiness, sweetness, sourness, bitterness, and umami. And we taste each of those things for a very specific reason. Saltiness will tell us that there's salt in food, which we need for like everything in our bodies, to control water, for neurotransmission, for everything. We just need salt in our diets. We all came out of the ocean at some point of our evolution, and therefore we're all salt-based, so we need salt. There's no two ways about that. Sweetness, we all evolved from apes who ate fruit. So our idea of calories is sweetness. If we'd evolved from mice, we would taste starch or grain. So if we eat an apple, that's fruit. So we're like, oh, that's delicious. You know, if a mouse eats a piece of barley, a mouse is like, that's delicious. A cat, for example, that eats meat or evolved from animals that only ate meat, has no need for sweetness because, you know, a gazelle that a lion eats on a savannah is not sweet. So cats can't taste sweetness. They don't bother giving your cat a lolly or anything like that because cats just don't taste, they don't have a taste bud for sweetness. But umami is glutamate. So you've heard of monosodium glutamate. Monosodium glutamate is the taste of umami. So you can add it to things, like adding MSG, but you can also create it through cooking processes like fermentation. So wine is full of umami. Soy sauce, again, fermented, full of umami. Anything that's fermented will have a savoriness to it. So the most common things that we use in cooking are things like stock, where we take the umami from chicken, or the savoriness from chicken, and we boil the bones and we create chicken stock, and that's what we get the savory flavor from. So it's not very well understood, so don't beat yourself up if you hadn't really heard of umami before. Can we just get a show of hands? Who's heard of umami before? Okay, a few not. So it was really only identified in Japan, which is why it has a Japanese name, in 1907. And it was only the actual taste bud, or the molecule, like the receptor on your tongue that umami, that glutamate interacts with, was only discovered like in 2002. So it's a relatively recent thing in our understanding of taste. But I did a podcast really recently for Audible where we were looking into the science of taste. And the really interesting thing was, like, we know why we evolved a taste for sweetness. You know, it told us that we had calories. And if you're a primitive human eating a piece of fruit from the tree, the human that liked the sweet fruit would have more calories and more chance to, you know, evolve, breed, than the one who didn't. And so therefore, the one that likes sweetness. Interestingly, we have a very refined taste for sourness because we are one of very few animals that doesn't produce vitamin C. It's like us, fruit bats and guinea pigs, all fruit-eating animals primarily, that don't produce vitamin C because we didn't need to produce vitamin C because we got so much vitamin C from the fruit that we were eating. But this was not supposed to be a science lesson for you in school holidays, so I apologize for that. But umami, so the scientists, as they say, umami was essentially created, well, not created, we evolved a taste for umami because it told us that food was good. Like it told us that it had protein in it first, so glutamate is an amino acid, so it tells us there's protein in it, but it also tells us that food has been made safe. So the cooking produces umami, and that's really important because you get more nutrients from cooked food than from raw food. Cooked food is also more likely to be safe, like not have bacteria in it. Or if it's fermented, which is full of bacteria, umami tells us that it's good bacteria because the bacteria that we use for fermentation is the bacteria that produces the umami taste. So it's just a part of our evolution that actually led us to the benefits of cooking, which is why I think it's so important for cooking. And why I think that we need to understand it a little bit better. So if you want to I'm not kidding. Like it's the main thing that I think about when I'm cooking. Like how am I going to get umami into this dish to make it taste good? Am I going to use soy sauce? Am I going to put some MSG in it? Am I going to, make sure that meat is really brown? All of these things that I think about are what is going to produce the umami in the food. And then obviously you have to balance that with a bit of sugar. So this teriyaki, the reason that it's so popular is because it's got soy sauce, sake, umami, saltiness, salty, sweet, and then it's got umami as well, savouriness. Bitterness is kind of natural. Bitterness occurs in everything. And then a bit of sourness, which is not in this dish, but you can put in just about any dish. Like there is almost no dish that would not benefit from a squeeze of lemon or a little dash of vinegar or something, because sourness is very, very, very important for our cooking. So I've just cooked a little bit of garlic in here, just because I wanted a garlic flavour. And garlic's like a nice source of bitterness in a dish like this. And then I'm going to take my teriyaki glaze and just put it into the pan there. You notice like I haven't even put the steak in there with that. It's not really important to do that. So this is almost like a French technique where you will take what's called the fond, all the brown bits in the bottom of the pan, and deglaze it with something else. So like some wine in most cases, but here we're just going to put in a bit of our teriyaki glaze. And you can see as I put the steak kind of back into that, it's starting to really glaze the outside of the steak. And I will add the resting juices from that in there too, because that's actually quite delicious. So I just want to reduce this now until the steak is kind of coated, and you can see that's coating. And because the steak's already rested, I'm not too worried about it being overcooked. It's just gonna, if I do start to worry about it being overcooked, I can literally just take it back out again, because we're essentially cooking our glaze separate from anything else. So I'm just going to turn that off for now and just let that reduce a little bit. If it reduces too much, I can just add a little bit more glaze into it. It's totally fine. So let's do this chicken here. And if anyone, once again, has any more questions, please just yell out or put a hand up, because there is a microphone that can come to you.